morning, everybody. What's up, what's up? How are we doing? Harris, Will, Samuel, Algo Trading, John, Thomas, Stewart, Dizan, Anthony, Valorino, Valo, Nico, what's up? Shahir, Sherbert, Oki, Businessman, Vigo, ESS, Accidental, what up? Cheryl, Muhammad, Jake, what's up? What's up, everybody? Good to see everybody in here. I could keep going and going, but I appreciate all you guys being in here this morning. If you could like the video, I would appreciate it. We're at 62. If we can get it to 100, we'll get it started. As far as what's going on today, technically I could talk about it just from here without even showing the chart. We have a news event driver 30 minutes after the open. So, per usual, we're going to wait for that, see what unfolds. I talked about last night, if you watched the daily log, how if something was to unfold overnight where it would change my overall bias of higher prices, then I would do so. Currently, I'm not saying to do so, but I'm going to have to see what the information that comes in, what I'm going to be looking at this session. Because a few things kind of changed for me overnight, and I will show that as soon as we hit 100 likes. We're at 6 more. Four more likes and we'll get this thing started. All right. I'm going to switch over to the chart. Let me know if you can see it. Ray Charter, Crazy Yeti, Julian, Fernando, Accidental, yeah. JD, what's up? What's up, everybody? Cool. All right. That's what I want to do at first. I want to bring your attention to this. So let's observe the highs from yesterday. Observe this in general. If you go out to the daily, observe this. So at the top is ES, bottom is, ES, NQ, YM. So what I want you to observe is the highs between ES and NQ, how both of these made higher highs here, right? And what did Dow do last week? Failed to make that higher high. So on the daily time frame, which is the pair, people ask me about SMT. CJ, what time frame do I use SMT on? You use it on every single time frame. It's the same as everything else, but it's fractal. Higher time frames are the parent. If there's an SMT on higher time frame, it's more significant, right? SMT is a confluence, and it's not set in stone until really it proves itself, because this very well, YM could want to get back into sync, and it's just simply the sixth sister between the two, and it would want to get in sync. So the question between sixth sister and SMT, that's something you as the analyst, you have to personally decipher and see if it's true or not. And you utilize that by seeing the information that's coming in, and is it proving to you, is it true or not true? Now, knowing that, right, there's a bearish SMT on the daily time frame. I'm keeping watch of that. I'm understanding, all right, if I'm seeing lower prices, things are no longer respecting the bullish side, bullish PD raise. It's not willing to go higher. Okay, well that's an indication. That's something proving to us already. Red flag, hey, look here. All right, cool. I'm going to look. If it signals to me that and things start panning out to the downside, then I'm going to utilize that information. Now, what happened yesterday? Look at the close of yesterday and everything that happened. Look at ES and where we printed a higher high and where NQ and YM failed to do. So here, you have a higher high. What's ES doing? It's making that higher high, while NQ, Look at where the close is not printing that higher high. So what is that? That's a bearish SMT right there as well. Look at Dow, same thing. So there could be multiple levels, multiple layers of SMT. But when I'm looking at a higher time frame, especially a daily, I go down to a 1 hour and I'm looking at that, I'm observing the highs, I'm seeing what's going on. That's kind of signaling to me, especially when we start trading through these inefficiencies up here, like on NQ, what I talked about last night. If we start trading through these inefficiencies, we start closing beneath them, we utilize it as an inversion. Okay, well that SMT is starting to get proven right to me, but I really need clear information in order to be able to switch. This is what switching a bias would look like if this does pan out. Not saying it's going to happen, but this is what it looks like. This is how you're able to decipher with real logic in real time what's going on. You had a preconceiving idea the night before. You roll into the session, some things changed. Okay, what were they? What's the information that would change it? What would be the information that's valid for me to understand that now this new bias is valid, right? So look at what we're doing in here. I'm not worried about any of this. Don't sit here and freak out that it's the open. I gotta catch something. Dealing with crack addicts in here. Not all of you, but there's some of you. The daily time frame we discussed yesterday, how even the weekly forecast, I was predicting that we should form some type of inefficiencies in here. We did form this, but just because this is here does not automatically mean price needs to send price higher. The things we just discussed, that could counter this whole idea, and it could trade right through it. You have to think about what's the bearish perspective. Well, we've taken out all-time highs. We've traveled into all-time highs. We have bearish SMT on a daily time frame at the highs. So it could lend support to lower prices. And it's the reason why you can't just keep pushing in a bias, because you have to understand the flip side. I always talk about looking at the flip side and being a detective and at least considering it. You go down to the 4 hour time frame, you look at this inefficiency in here. What are we doing? We've traded right through it. Now that down close candle to the left is basically the last point of interest, but even then, so I don't really like it. That's such a deep retracement. In order for me to start looking for higher prices, that would signal to me we're probably getting some type of bias change in here, which is fine. It means nothing to me as long as I can get in line with it and I'm not stubborn. I just stick with one bias. You go down to the 1 hour time frame. What are we doing? We're trading through all these inefficiencies in here. So same thing we talked about last night. Go back to the daily log. If I woke up in the morning coming into the New York session and we started collapsing through these and we didn't get any price spike higher, then I'm probably abandoning the bullish idea. We've collapsed underneath this BISI. This turns into what? An inversion. What do? We utilized it so far to send price lower. So we have a down close candle here with a inversion inside of it. So currently that's where we're resting. Particularly if I was to be long, I wouldn't love how deep a retracement and how far we're trading through. CJ, how do I know if something's valid or not? How do I know what bias is valid? Well, look at the side it's respecting. Is it respecting these bullish PD arrays in here? Bullish for value gaps? No, it's not. Is it respecting bearish? Yes, it is. Okay, what's paired with that? Bearish SMT. Okay. So do you see how in real time you're just utilizing logic? You're utilizing information that's coming in, and if you're able to switch it, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean you're a bad analyst. It means you're an amazing one. It's not 50-50 like people have said before. It's simply just utilizing real-time logic and being able to switch it. CJ, make a video over daily bias. I just did it for you. I can't make a video over it. It's all unique situations that happen that play out each and every day. That's why I don't make videos like that, because it doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't learn. So that first 5 minutes I just discussed here taught you more than any freaking YouTube video is going to teach you. So you're welcome. So if this thing decided to start expanding lower, we'd want to aim at least for the sell side in here, at least for 1828. Why? Because that's the most previous low in proximity to where price is at. That's the closest low-hanging fruit drawing liquidity I could look for, right? And if we get underneath that, then I have to adjust and say, all right, well, what else can we look for? What else can price expand into? And if the narrative is bearish, the only thing I want to do is short. I'm not going to be going for longs. I'm not going to be trying to do anything that would be stupid. Make sense? So if you're looking at a 15-minute chart, you're going to extend out. What is going on here? You're going to extend out everything from the left side. The only thing I can really utilize is this old SIBI. We can still utilize that. I'm going to extend it out to my right. I'm not fearful this thing's going to drop off and drop right into the sell side. If it does, who really cares? The main thing I always teach is patience, discipline, trusting your patience. I have a set of rules for a particular reason. A, we have a news event driver at 10 o'clock. So regardless of what's happening, I'm waiting for that. Nico. Yeah. You should start charging for what you did there. Yeah, I most definitely will. And I have no issue doing it. But for now, it's free. Thank you, Akbar. So YM's really significantly selling off, which is cool. What would help? Okay, so let's throw another thing into all of this, right? For all of you that don't know how to understand daily bias, which is fine. I'm not trying to shit on you, but I'm just trying to guide you. Because it's not going to happen in one video. You can't watch one singular video and understand it. What would help with what we just discussed in here? Changing a certain bias. What would help you in that? Well, if dollar index, if I was able to look at dollar index, and dollar index was clearly moving higher, which has been inside of consolidation, so I disregard the information. But let's say, for an example, dollar index was moving higher significantly. That would confirm everything I just looked at. All the information where I was like, all right, well, maybe I have to switch what I was looking at and switch to lower prices. I utilize the information I was looking at, and I take a look at dollar index, and that's like the cherry on top. Dollar index is climbing higher. Okay, boom, bada bang. That's all you need. That's how you confirm a daily bias. Where is price gravitating to? Okay, everything I just utilized, you put it in all in one little recipe, and you mix it all together, and you get a beautiful trade. If you don't know where you're going, if you don't know where price is going, it doesn't matter what your model is. It doesn't matter what entry pattern you have. You're probably going to get ran over and you're going to stop out. If I know where price is gravitating to, if I know where the magnet is, then all I have to do is wait for time and then plug in my entry pattern. That's as simple as it can be. The hard part is figuring out where the drawn liquidity is. But if I can know where the drawn liquidity is, everything else is easy. It's simple. Sometimes there isn't a drawn liquidity for the day. Yesterday, that was a perfect example. Consolidational profile, not doing much. I don't want to risk money in it. I don't want to risk mental capital in it. So what do? You sit out of it. There's certain factors that obviously play into it, and you're able to see, all right, is this low probability day versus a higher probability day? Why would today be a little bit higher probability? Well, look at the overall price action and what we're doing. And B, we have a news event driver. And we're rolling into Tuesday, which is a better day out of the week to trade. ESS, not necessarily. So this is where, if you go to my charter member models, I have a model that's called continuation model. If higher time frame, let's look at the daily. The daily's already taken out buy side liquidity. We have bearish SMT. We've now dropped lower. We're displacing lower, spooling towards the drawn liquidity. I don't need buy side to be ran. It's already done the work on higher time frame. So key off of what I just said there and go study that. If higher time frame buy side has already been taken, I don't need 2022 model to take out buy side liquidity in lower time frames. That's not needed. The work's already been done on the higher time frames. So what would be needed? To me, it's called a continuation model. All I'm looking for is a fair value gap resting inside of a premium, in this instance, to go short. That's all I'm looking for. And that could be on a 5-minute time frame. That could be on a 1-minute time frame. It depends. It's unique. It's unique on what price gives me. It's not plan A or plan B every single time. It's uniquely on what price is giving me that day. But for the most part, that's really all it is. But you have to understand the profile and what you're in. Does that make sense? Excuse me if I'm drinking coffee. There is some buy side above price, but if price has already done the work on the higher time frame, you don't need to take out buy side. It's not needed. It could, and if it does that mean I'm wrong? No. It means I just adjust accordingly. Somebody, businessman, what mentorship? To be honest, I don't remember. I have a video on my channel that goes over SMT. Just got another aha moment. Good. So let's say this was placed at a different time. Let's say this was placed after the news event driver. This was placed within the silver bullet. This is what a continuation model would look like. You have a fair value gap, and you're looking for wherever the dealing range high is, you drag it down to the low. And you find equilibrium, smack dab right here. You want to short anything above it. That would be a continuation model, and you're just looking for price to continue into wherever the drawn liquidity is. But since we're not in the right time, I'm not going to be taking a trade. Time is the most important factor. If price does exactly what I said and it sells off into the sell side, oh well, boo-hoo, cry me a river. Particularly, I talk to myself when I say that. Not that I would care, but you have to encourage yourself. When you start pouting like a little cuss word, kind of got to give it back to yourself. A lot of you get so upset over missing moves, and it's I can't repeat it enough. The market repeats every single day. It's nothing to ever worry. The main reason you lose so much is because you're so fearful of missing moves. Like, think about the ironic part of that. What up, Jack? Luke, very good. Appreciate your comment last night. Meant a lot. Very good to hear. I was going to type out a long, I did type out a decent long comment to you, but overall, I wanted to dig into some things, just because you stated that you feared missing the overall sell-off yesterday, but as far as like missing moves, man, like if you feel any guilt, like I try to really remember this overall, regardless if you read psychology books, the whole, like when you look at a move that day and you're upset that you missed it, I can obviously relate to it, like I really, really can. But what happens is over time, that feeling dissipates. You no longer really give a shit anymore. Over time, it's just kind of like, whatever. Like, after so many years of doing this and how many times you've seen it play out and how many times, because it's going to happen to you. You're not going to be able to ever escape missing a move and continue. So you'll get better at obviously not doing that. But overall, you're just going to stop caring. It's the same thing with losses. Like in the beginning, in the first, couple of years, you really care, man. Like your heart's on the line. Every time you miss a move, you're really upset. Every time you take a loss, you're really upset. But over time, it just kind of dissipates. It just kind of just moves into thin air, nothing. Like many of you sit here and you say, like, not most, but I'm so calm and disciplined because it's just years of doing this to the point where it's just nothing now. I don't really ever get mad or triggered about many things in here because it's just happened to me so many times. And that's really what needs to happen to a lot of you, is it needs to happen a lot to all of you. And once you reach that point, then obviously you're not going to really care anymore. And that's mainly where a lot of you struggle, is just experience, which is fine. I mean, the only way through is to continuously keep going. And that's the main part of a lot of trading is it just takes a long time to get over a lot of these feelings. Because it's very backwards to what we've been programmed our whole life, our whole lives. I'm reading the chat. What's going on there? Yeah, I know. I mean, I just try not to swear a lot. Just in general, I try not to. Stream is still laggy. Is this laggy for anybody? RP, I mean, that's what my daily logs are, but I don't label them as clickbait. They're just simply videos like this where I'm teaching. And if you feel any type of way about this, I mean, I don't know what to say to you. I'm following rules and discipline. If you're following rules and discipline, there's a huge distinguish between missing a move, right? Missing a move to me is I'm within my time zone. I'm within my rules, my set of plans that I laid out for myself. And I see my entry pattern, I simply don't take it. Everything outside of that it's not missing a move to me because I trust my plan. I trust my strategy so much that I don't care anything outside of it that revolves around it. I don't care. It's not missing a move to me. So like when something sells off that's outside of the silver bullet AM session, it doesn't matter to me. I don't have any feelings towards it. But if I'm within the silver bullet window and I see something panning out and I just don't execute it because I'm fearful of losing or something, then yeah, that's me missing a move and that's me doing something wrong. So you need to make that distinguish between those two. Did Darwin X create futures? I don't think so yet. Yeah, I think YouTube. I was having problems getting the stream up this morning. Silver bullet is a time window for me. I plug my own models into the silver bullet. It's just a time zone. When will I know the 2022 model won't work? I mean, that's as if you're asking when will I know the fair value gap will fail, or order block will fail. Time and experience will teach you things. Narrative will teach you. A lot of these questions, I can just tell, that's a very beginner question. I'm not hating on it, but it's just time. You're going to have to spend a lot of time with this. Yeah, I mean, exactly, Sheep. I mean, even if I was to enter, there's nothing for me to enter on. It's the reason why I don't feel anything. It's just, I'm neutral. If you're asking me about accounts or like what you should be, I'm not going to answer any of that. That's just, if you're going to ask me something, please ask me something valuable, like worth my time to look at, please. I don't mean to be rude. I just like, questions like that, I don't have time for. I guess, so if we look at the higher time frames in here, where could price draw into? Where would be the next objective? Where would be the next overall price point, right? So we could return back into this reclaimed BISI here, right? So when you look at the higher time frames, CJ, what's bias? What's narrative? Well, I'm just showing you right here. This is the higher time frame, which is the parent. This is going to lead everything else on these lower time frames. So I have to see, okay, where does this want to go? So I know where to enter into this, and I know where to place my take profit. So in here, this inefficiency down here would be the next draw on liquidity to me. I would also add this down close candle. Now, does that mean that when we reach into here, I'm expecting higher prices and I should be buying? No, because the narrative to me now is bearish. We're looking for lower prices. So I'm just utilizing all these bullish PD rays as places to look for price to run into. It could have a short-term retracement off of it, but I'm not going to be looking to buy off of it. It's just something to target. Underneath this low in here, look at that low to this high here. What is that? That's an open, this portion of that fair value gap is open. So overall, as we come into the next few days here, I would elect to believe we want to draw down into this. It may not happen tomorrow, maybe next day by Friday, but this open inefficiency is what we'd probably be looking for. If this is an outright reversal we discussed at the very beginning of the video, then yes, we'd be looking for overall lower prices throughout the whole week. So it makes sense to everybody what we discussed. If you were here from the very beginning of the video till now, all of this should make sense to you. Everything we just discussed with SMT, higher time frame. The sell side was ran there. It means nothing to me. It's not significant to me, really. Just means that, okay, right, well, I'm happy that obviously we were able to switch bias real time, be able to decipher that, and look for lower prices. That's the cool part. That's what you need to put in your journal and say, all right, well, I was, at least for me, this is what I would say, I was looking for higher prices yesterday. As I came into the session, I was able to adjust accordingly and see that price was no longer respecting bullish PD raise. I saw the information that supported a bearish bias, and I was able to get in line with it. That's what I would personally put in my journal. Shout out the guy that said I talk about the same thing every day. Does it sound like it today? I don't think so. So what I'm doing is now I'm looking at every single time frame from a 1 hour down to at least a 5 minute, and I'm marking out all the discounted levels that price can reach into. So if we need to see where price is going, if I need my roadmap, I need my GPS, all right, well, I'm looking for all the levels underneath price. If that's what I'm seeking, right, we're seeking lower prices. Well, how far can price reach into? What's the next levels? Well, this is a reclaimed inefficiency in here. This is the only portion that's not completely traded into, but I'm highlighting that entire inefficiency because it could be acted as a reclaimed area. Price could trade into that. It could give price a little bit of support to have a short-term retracement higher and then dump off and sell off lower again. So I'm just marking out those areas. So same thing here. I'm going to look inside of this. I see another little area of inefficiency, which is here. It's reclaimed, but still can utilize it. You extend that out to your right. So I'm going to make this a little bit different color because I don't want it overlapped. So currently, this is the nearest drawn liquidity for me, at least on a 15-minute time frame. That's what I'd be utilizing, looking for currently. Again, we're still 8 minutes out from a news event driver, 8 minutes out from the silver bullet. I understand as a newer student, seeing all this happen for the silver bullet, and you're told to sit still. It's hard. It's difficult because you see all this movement before the silver bullet. You're like, well, why the hell am I waiting for this silver bullet thing? That makes no sense. Again, there's pros and cons to every single rules and models and strategy that you play within. You can't just be a chameleon and just trade every single style on the correct day, on the perfect day that the rules pan out. It's impossible. Like, there's going to be days where, again, discipline's a bitch. You're going to have to just sit idle while things move because that's part of your rules and your discipline. Otherwise, you're just trying to trade everything, try to be a part of every single rule set and model, and it's impossible to do so. You can't do that. There's pros and cons to every single model and rule set you have, and sometimes you're going to miss moves or you're going to not be a part of moves because your rule set tells you to sit still. Does that mean it's wrong, it's incorrect? No. It just means that that's part of what it is, and you have to exercise that, or unless you're just doing everything. You're just trying to trade everything at once, and you're never going to become successful. So in here, we'll see how we open with the news event driver. Overall, we could still look for lower prices overall today, even though we've taken out sell side. We have this inefficiency up here. We have this one here on the 15-minute. So if price trades up into this with the news event driver, could likely see a sell-off with it. I'm not saying it's a, put a limit there right now. I have to adjust and see what price is giving me. I want to see how far price really wants to go. So that's another concern I'm kind of crossing my mind. I'm not saying it out loud. But when I look at the daily time frame and I'm looking at that daily candle, I'm trying to visualize how far can price really go. This is something I'm always doing. This goes back to daily bias, is how far can price really go? I don't always get it correct. I'm not 100%. But when I look at price and I go, all right, well, how far has price moved today? It's moved a lot, right? It's moved a lot already. So can it, like if I was to go short today, can it really move? How much farther can it move today? Is it realistic to expect this thing just to drop all the way down into here? No, I don't foresee that personally. If anything, it could drop into this order block here, maybe the mean threshold at absolute best, and wick up higher. That's just personally what I'm visualizing and I'm looking at. Again, sometimes I get it wrong. Sometimes I can't visualize that. I can't anticipate it. But through experience, you know what a daily candle looks like. You know how far price should or should not reach into. Like, you don't see this thing just dropping all the way down here, right? That's not realistic to expect. So you need to work within reality and obviously not have unrealistic expectations of where the daily range should move. RTH gap now. Thank you very much. So RTH gap, regular trading hours versus electronic trading hours. You toggle that on, you are putting on the close of yesterday to the open of today. If you look, we opened up lower. So if I have an RTH gap, if my bias is short for the day and I have an RTH gap above me, it depends where it's resting at. RTH gaps are unique on how you utilize them. But as far as where this high is, or the high here, at least the open, 18,132, 134. Do you see how this, the RTH gap, do you see, if I look to the left of you, do you see how that's residing above the area that I was looking at as a potential short? That doesn't mean that that trade idea is completely invalid, but it would make me weary too short in an instance, because if the RTH gap, either A, we're going to leave this completely open, or B, we're going to want to rally into that RTH gap to fully close it in, which that would be going above this inefficiency here. So I have to see how price starts delivering after here. It may just keep selling off. So yeah, you have to adjust accordingly in each session and keep adjusting to whatever price is giving you. When people ask about, make a video over this or that, it's so difficult because every day is so unique and how you utilize these concepts are so unique each day. It's not a set in stone. You plan A, do this. Plan B, do this. It's not like that. It's very much in the moment. I'm always trying to decide, look at the information, and this is where time and experience comes in hand. You can't fake time and experience. You can't, you can't buy it. It's just simply, you have to earn it. And that's where, if you really want to be good at this, it's going to take multiple years. I don't care what anybody else says. I mean, get rich in 6 months doing this. That's a fallacy. It's bullshit. You have to grind your ass off for a minimum of 4 years. There's a lot of questions, a lot of chat. I know I'm not looking at it. It's too much today. And it's not that the chat's too much. It's just too many messages. I simply can't get to it. And the other thing that would make me, even though the bias is overall short, right, that we talked about, we could still be overall short the next few days of the overall week, right? But the fact that we've dropped down with the open and we have a news event driver incoming, this would make me weary to want to keep pushing overall shorts today. And what we talked about on the daily time frame, how far can the daily candle expand? I don't see it expanding much further. So even though the narrative is short, overall, what I'm looking at for the rest of the week, possibly, we may want to have a short-term retracement going into the rest of today / tomorrow. So what would that do? Well, if we take out sell side in here, could price fully outright reverse from here just for this particular session? And we have these relatively equal highs up here with the RTH gap. that could also be a bias that I'm looking at. I have to look at the information that's incoming. So somebody that's plan A and plan B, it is, because I don't know what's going to happen in the next minute here. So whatever comes in the next 15, 20, 30 minutes, I'm going to utilize that information and decide what I want to do. Yeah, if you guys can like the video, I'd appreciate it. There's 900 of you guys in here and only 234 likes. I mean, if I'm helping you guys today, if I'm giving you some type of insight, some type of information, I mean, please like the video. Please subscribe. I mean, if I was a student sitting in here as a newer student, I would be very grateful for it. It's not me trying to brag or boast. It's just simply the truth. You go. Yeah, right. I mean, who else is a live streamer teaching you in real time while trading? I mean, if you're new here, this is what the experience is like. I'm teaching you all in real time while trading. That's how it should be. So this blue line is a old new week opening gap. Old. Emphasis old. How many old new week opening gaps? I already know that question's going to be had. It's 4 old new week opening gaps on here. So I have 4 previous new week opening gaps. So I'm not going to be buying off of it, but I'm utilizing it and saying, all right, well, we took a sell side in here. We're utilizing that old new week opening gap. We're getting a little bit higher prices. We just released with the news event driver. So if I was to look at a short-term bullish retracement, what would kind of help me with that? Well, look at the hourly SMT here. Look at how ES failed to drop underneath its low from Friday, but NQ dropped underneath its low. So that's a slight bullish SMT in here. And I still really have to be fairly confident to go long today. To do anything, I mean, we've moved a lot already, so I have to look at the information that's incoming and decide what I want to do. And if you are new here, guess what we could do? Guess what? Everybody that worries about missing moves and you're unsure about bias, and I just, man, I don't know what to do. Well, utilize the model that I've been utilizing is wait for the last 25% into the draw on liquidity. I've showcased this many times. If I am unsure of going long or short, and particularly if I just want to stand in the idea of I'm just going to go long today, what I could do is I could wait for price to climb above this SIBI in here, right? Both of these SIBIs, the 15 and the 5 minute. What would that be telling me? Well, that's a change in state of delivery. That's a market structure shift in a sense. You could look at it like that. So if we get above that and price goes above it, all right, cool. Now I'm pretty damn confident we're going to want to rally to the buy side. So there could be a setup in here where I could go long and I could get the best risk to reward and I could have the best setup all the way to the buy side. Cool. That's awesome. Or I could wait for a clear confirmation where we get above the SIBI in here. It's a clear distinguish, okay, we're no longer bearish currently, and price is at least wanting to rally towards the buy side. And then all I have to look for in this little pocket from that SIBI to that high is I'm looking for some type of entry pattern to get me into the buy side. And I complete the last 25% low-hanging fruit drawn liquidity entry pattern. I don't need to be sitting here fearing and missing a move. I have to be in the best position, the best risk reward. I don't need to do that. You don't need any of that to be profitable. You could have the very littlest setups and still be very profitable. Yeah, as far as dollar index is dropping off lower. So that would probably support the overall idea right now that I'd want to look for higher prices. So you see what I just did there? What did we just mention earlier about dollar index? If I'm utilizing it in terms of my bias and what I'm the confluence for the day, if dollar index actually moves in a manually good fashion, like right now it's actually moving lower in a decent distance. If it really starts moving lower, okay, then if I was looking for lower prices, I kind of have to put that to the side. Look at ES, look at YM, they're all spiking up higher. We have a bullish SMT on the hourly. So Everything I just discussed in here is a very easy pinpoint on how to switch how to switch on a higher time frame to bearish, and then even intraday how to switch from looking for lower prices back to higher prices. So if I go down to a 1 minute, what I'm going to annotate is everything from the left side. I'm going to extend it out to the right. So this SIBI, I'm not going to be looking to sell off of this anymore. That's not my bias anymore. Doesn't seem right. The factors kind of stacked against it. If it does, then cool, whatever. I can still get in line with it if that proves itself right. But above here, we have buy side there, and ultimately the relative equal highs resting here with the RTH gap. So the 50% is resting right about at that buy side there. So a couple good confluences. And to me, I'm taught where I'm not fearing of missing this move down here, because we're still inside of these SIBIs. Even though I want to look for higher prices, I could be dead wrong. This thing could just sell off. And guess what? Me waiting for price to move higher, me waiting for a price to close above the SIBI is protecting me from potential losses. And if it sells off, does that mean I was wrong for not looking at sells? No. Even if this thing started to sell off, I could still get back in line with it. And guess what? I took no losses. It was no harm to me. I think trying to be the most perfect trader, always trying to pick the most bottom entry pattern or the top, it's not gonna serve you well. You're trying to do too much. I teach in a style that requires a lot of patience. But if you're able to get to that point with a lot of patience, man, trading's super easy. Almost 1K, yeah, we're at 950. It'd be cool to smash that today, but every time I mention it, it's the reason I'm not mentioning it. Every time I mention it, people leave. So if you could like the video, I appreciate it. We can get it up there. Why not use a fair value gap indicator? Because I don't use indicators to draw that. I think it's too much. For a newer student, I would advise it, because that way you can train your eye to see what a fair value gap is, but I don't. I personally have always manually drawn it. I've always done this. So it's just out of habit. Ah, look at that. Smashed 1,000. I appreciate it, guys. Awesome. Very cool. Bitcoin's at all-time high. CJ streams at all-time highs. I appreciate all you guys who've been here from the beginning. Nico, all you guys, you know who you are. We're here from 100 viewers, now we're at 1,000, so appreciate all you. Very, very good. Roosta, what's up, brother? Good to see you in here. I was here, yeah. As far as the charts and what we're doing in here, so we're selling off. Is this going against what I was thinking? Yeah. Would I have sold in here? No. Hopefully my trading view doesn't crash. I see it lagging. Just found you. Would have been here a while ago. Yeah. That's alright. I appreciate everybody who's tuning in, who's new here. So even if, in general, would I have sold off anything in here? No. So I'm just being patient. I'm seeing, alright, well, I see the idea. This is what I always talk about, and I don't think this is a bad thing at all. People have their comments on it, but overall, I believe being a detective and looking at both sides of the board. I believe in looking at both cases, and you're studying both cases. You're looking at both sides of the evidence, and you're saying, all right, well, if you're not experienced enough, this may be a little bit confusing for you. It may actually hurt you, but overall, for me, I like to do this because it keeps my mind open. It keeps me open to the other side, and if I have to adjust accordingly really quickly, I'm able to do so. But you have your evidence for bearish, you have your evidence for bullish. Eventually, on some trade ideas, you're going to have so much evidence for one side, and you're going to look at the bearish case and be like, yeah, there's no information, there's no evidence for it. I have to throw out that case, and I like to go with the bullish one. Vice versa for bearish. So I see both sides, both evidence. We'll see how far overall this thing wants to drop. I mean, again, when I was looking at that daily time frame, looking at the daily candlestick, trying to figure out how far that wants to go, I mean, that's a question to be had. But overall, would I have sold off of anything in here? No. I was, particularly if I did want to sell, I'd want to be selling inside of that inefficiency in here. So to me, the fact that we collapse like this, I would probably throw out the entire idea of going higher. So again, did I take a loss on it? No. Did I miss a trade? No. So I just have to go, all right, well, I'm getting back in line with what I was originally thinking. And I know I'm stating this out loud and it sounds confusing for newer people, but this is really what's going inside my head all the time. I'm just speaking it out loud. And I'm sure very good analysts, it's the exact same thing that's going through their head. Yeah, or I've never had a problem with that. I guess that's why people comment on me doing that a lot, like, because they feel as if like I'm doing something wrong. But to me, I don't view it as wrong. Like, it's just me being fluid. Like, the market is fluid, right? It's always moving back and forth all the time. So you as the individual should be able to do that. If not, I feel like that's just a poor skill set. That's something that, you know, obviously somebody would need to work on. Because overall, I mean, having a bias, and if you didn't execute on it, or having an idea and you didn't execute on it, it's not right or wrong. It doesn't mean really anything to me. And overall, I think that has to do with, yeah, is trading be lagging? That overall has to do with ego and wanting to be right and everything. Ego doesn't get you very far in trading. What I want to make note is look at the 5 minute in here. So bearish order block here. It's interesting. If you hear me being silent, that means I'm just trying to weigh options, decisions in my mind. Make sure I'm doing the right thing, focusing. I have other monitors up that I'm looking at. As far as what would counter this idea, would be dollar index. But dollar index, I can't trust dollar index. Even the runs that it does have, it may just stall and do nothing. So I'm trying to disregard dollar index currently. So in my head, what I'm thinking is, well, dollar index is dropping lower. Do I want to short this going lower with dollar index? Not particularly, but at the same time, dollar index could just stall and be inside consolidation. So I might just disregard that. So the next option is, okay, if I think price is going lower, where would I target it? Where would I enter? So I'm trying to decide are those things. Like, okay, well, even when before I get into a pattern, it's like, well, how far can price reach into realistically, and where would I enter? So I have to look for targets. Well, if anything, I might look for the CE of this inefficiency in here. Where would I enter? Well, there's a premium inefficiency in here coupled with the 5 minute bearish order block. So that's a decent entry pattern. We moved off of the 15 minute, we IOFED the inefficiency here. So this is me weighing options and decision making inside of my head. Like, all right, well, all the things I just went over. I'm trying to articulate it as best as I can, like what goes through my head. Hopefully I'm doing a decent job of it. If you look, take notice, I'm looking at the higher time frames. I'm looking at it, I'm going, all right, well, where is it at now? What is it doing? Constantly keep referring back to the daily time frame. It's apparent. The reason I would be weary of shorting, even though the bias to me is, I want to elect to believe we're going to see lower prices throughout the rest of the week. The thing that would make me weary is if you look at this entire dealing range, from this dealing range low up to that high, we've now dropped into a discount with very little short-term. At least as soon as you drop into a discount, anything beneath equilibrium in here, sometimes you're going to get a short-term retracement into a premium. So back onto this side, you're going to get some type of retracement into a premium. So when I reach into a new discount and reach underneath sell side, it makes me weary to want to keep pushing it, because I could very well try to be catching a short in here, and then it has some outright reversal to go higher for a retracement. So that's the decision I'm kind of weighing in my head, is do I want to push a short in here? Do I want to do that? Hopefully it makes sense. We're only 15 minutes in a silver bullet. I know it can feel like a lot has happened, like price when it moves a lot. It feels like, you know, I had to be participating, but I'm looking at time. We still have 45 minutes left of the session. A lot of things can happen. Yeah, as far as ES being the sixth sister, it would probably overall, like, it would probably be the better option to trade it, to be honest with you, because it still hasn't reached into its drawn liquidities, much like how NQ's already reached into its sell side. So I don't really have a clear target on NQ. I don't know where NQ would really want to travel to besides the low all the way down here. But if you look at ES, I mean, 50.89 seems like a decent overall target for it. Yeah, I do like ES a little bit better, which you've seen me do six sister approach and be able to trade it. I'm not a huge fan of it. Well, I consider this good intermarket relationships. Not really, no. Dollar index is decoupled and it's lethargic, not doing much. Bonds and yields are doing something different. If you're talking about relationships with just the index futures, yeah, it's pretty decent. If this thing sells off even more, I'm probably not going to look for any type of shorts anymore. Because again, you have to be realistic in how far price would want to reach into. I don't see this thing just falling off a cliff. It's not realistic to believe. I mean, it very well could. I could be wrong on that. But now we're inside of a higher time frame parent bullish PDA. So it doesn't mean that overall this thing is going to send price higher. It just could lend support on the lower time frames to have some short-term retracement higher. Right? You would see bullish PA. I mean, overall, I'm not upset or mad or anything about. There wasn't anything in here I would have particularly really sold off of. IOFED like this on a 15-minute time frame, it's a bit tricky, especially with a news event driver just coming out. The risk is a little bit large for me, because if I was to enter an IOFED, my stop loss has to go at least, I know the position is reversed, my stop loss has to go above the second candle that creates a fair value gap. Right, so there's 3 candles that create a fair value gap. My stop loss would have to go above that. And I'd be risking 69 handles. That's a ridiculous amount of risk. I'm not trying to do that. So when you're looking at a trade idea, you have to look at a bunch of different factors. How much is my risk? Where can price go? Like, to me, I'm trying to risk 20, 25 handles at absolute most. And I do that by refining it to a 1 minute. IOFED is really easy on a 1 minute to trade because the risk is not that much. And if this is one of those days where you simply you miss the bus and price just keeps off trading off lower, then that's fine. That it doesn't mean that anything's wrong with you. It doesn't mean your model's wrong. It means that sometimes you just miss the bus. And I wouldn't even call it missing the bus. It's just simply the bus leaves without you. You know, You show up to the train station and it just takes off. Doesn't even open up the doors for you. You can't get on the bus. It just leaves without you. Guess what? That's part of trading. You have to suck it up. I'm not gonna sit here and bitch and moan like a child and be like, man, like this shit's stupid. No, because guess what? I know without a doubt in my mind that eventually, tomorrow, the next day, the following day, there's probably gonna be an entry pattern that I can enter in on. It's just some days you can't change the market. I can't get upset over the market. It's gonna do what it wants to do. In here, looking at the whole day, there's nothing I would have entered off of. There's nothing I would have went short off of. So is this, to me, a perfect example we talked about earlier, is this me missing a move? No. In some people's eyes, they may look at this and be like, man, like, you're an idiot, you're stupid, I don't know why you're live streaming. Cool, that's fine, whatever. But to me, I don't feel like that. Regardless if I was live streaming or not, I wouldn't have entered off of anything. There's nothing that would have probed me to go short. The only entry pattern I would have saw is the ILFED on the 15-minute. The risk is too large, so I just sit still. Bus left, I'm not running after it, I'm waiting for the next one. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's where patience comes into. I mean, this is where if you miss a move or you feel like you're missing a move, what will happen is the emotions play off of each other. It's a good drum set. Like you can get pissed off that you missed a move, right? Quotation, missed a move. And then you start tilting, and what you want to do is you want a revenge trade. You want to, even though you didn't even take a trade, you're just pissed off that the market's moving. You're not participating. You're upset, which that's a false illusion. You're pissed off at nothing, right? There's no reason to be upset. But then you're pissed off and you want to go into the market. You want to show the market what's up. And you end up getting stopped out because you're trying to chase price, or you're trying to reverse it. You're trying to catch a falling knife. Sometimes you just have to sit still and watch it, and that's all you can do. That's where you hold the power. You don't hold the power in participating in every single move. You hold the power in controlling your frequency of how many times you engage with the market and how much risk you use. That's the power you hold. That's the only power you hold. Everything else, you're in complete submission to the market. Are you moving the market right now? No. Am I moving the market? No. So what does that mean? It's out of my control. Obviously, if I'm in a session by myself, I'm not saying these things out loud. I'm just saying this for all the audience that I understand if you're a newer student, you're probably feeling those type of emotions. And I'm trying to relate to it and trying to guide you to say it's okay, it's fine. It's normal. Nathan, I mean, who really knows things can, I mean, there's still a lot of time left. So I don't really particularly know. But if I have to go another day without taking an entry, it's not going to be the end of the world. Like, do you use quarter theory at all? I know you asked that, sorry. No, I don't. I thought I was listening to ICT stream. Yeah, I mean, yeah, when you hang around him for so much, he rubs off on you. Which, praying for his family. He's going through some tough times with his wife's mother. So I was a little bit concerned. He wasn't talking for a while. I was like, I don't know if I don't know what happened to him. But then he finally sent a message yesterday. I was like, oh, thank God. CJ, do you trade market maker buy models / sell models? Yes, but I teach from the perspective of not really looking for them. I think they're very subjective. I think that if you already know an entry pattern, for an example, the 2022 model, you're going to enter into market maker seller buy models without even knowing that you're participating within them. Yeah, I think they're very subjective. I think you could see a sell model and it's not a sell model at all. I think looking for, you start with this, you look for your daily bias and you look for the drawn liquidity. Where's your GPS? Where's your roadmap? Where can price go? As soon as I find that, then I'm looking for my multiplier, my entry pattern. What is that for me? It's my fair value gap. So it's not mine, but you know what I'm saying. I plug in my GPS, I plug it in with time, and I plug in my multiplier. And if I can do that, I'll probably participate within a market maker seller buy model without even knowing it. I mean, I've studied them. I know exactly what they are. I'm very versed in them, but I just don't utilize them. What's up, Marco? You had a stomach bug? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Ah, just rest, Marco. It'll always be here tomorrow, I promise you. Do I use white or wheat bread? Well, I use both. I don't. This is where some weird questions come in. What games do I play on Xbox? Warzone, the finals. Yes, I still play video games. Anybody that, when you're in this entrepreneur space, everybody tells you you need to not play video games and you need to work 24 hours a day and never sleep. I mean, that's not realistic. God. Yes, there's times where you need to dedicate and put a lot of time and effort into this, but like playing video games during the New York session silver bullet, yes, that's a stupid idea. But you know, if you worked your ass off all day and you want to play some video games for a couple hours, I don't see any harm in it. Collab with Jinxie. Yeah, sure. I'm sure that'll be a great stream. That dude's actually hilarious. Yeah, because I know that may be a surprise. League of Legends? No, I've never got into League of Legends. I don't really like what do you call those games where you're like a third person kind of moving your character around? I don't know. It's my mouse sensitivity. It's funny. Yeah, if you move your mouse sensitivity, you move it up, you're gonna have better entries. I promise. I mean, I'm gonna answer questions in here. If you're thinking about price and worrying about missing a move, I mean, I'm sorry. Only other thing that I'm going to be looking for in terms of price, and I'm looking at time, is probably the end of silver bullet macro. That's probably one of my favorite macros, is that 20-minute window from 1050 to 1110. So we'll see what price pans out like, but in here, I'm not trying to just chase a short in here. And I'm fine with electing to sitting on the sidelines. Even if this thing continues to sell off, I'm fine with it. You have to draw the line in the sand somewhere. You have to. You have to say, you know what, man, I'm not going to do this or that at this point in time. If price is sold off this much, and is what I just discussed, if it's inside of this much of a deep discount, I'm really not trying to chase price. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to look at this 1 minute little sibby in here and try to chase that. You're going to hurt yourself doing that. I mean, it very well could sell off of this, and would I feel any type of emotion about it? No, because it's not part of my entry pattern. It's not part of my models and my rule set to do that. So if it does, I mean, does that mean you're a bad analyst? Does that mean that you're a terrible trader? No, it doesn't. It means that you're following rules and discipline. Because on the flip side, if I didn't follow this and it stopped me out, I'd be pissed off at myself. Like, why the hell did I do that? Like, what was the point of me doing that? Collab with the two-time. Dr. Disrespect. He's goated. Yeah, I mean, the 20... I actually just took that off today. You know what? I'll put that back on. Because this is where I have an issue with it. And not to say it's a bad concept overall. IPDA lookbacks. But I want to show this to all of you. I'm not saying it's bad. It works a good amount of times. But you utilize it on the daily time frame is where you're looking back 20, 40, 60 days from the current day, wherever price is at, or the previous day. You're looking back 20 days, 40 days, and 60 days. So currently, how you utilize that is if I'm looking at this concept, 20, 40, 60-day look back, is I'm looking at all the lows on this instance. So price may want to seek all of these lows in here. It may want to seek the 20-day look back. It may want to seek anything else that's been residing within those 60 days particularly. I'm marking out all those lows. Like the 40-day look back is here, 60-day look back is here. So over time, in the next few months, it may want to gravitate towards that. That this may be the outright reversal that it does do that. But if you went back to here, people could have seen the 20, 40, 60-day look back, and they're trying to short into these lows. It doesn't make any sense because you have to match it with order flow. Order flow is still bullish. The only reason now I'm considering 20, 40, 60 days because of the things we discussed earlier is this could be an outright reversal lower. But if you reel it back, I mean, this is where it's, I don't want to say it's flawed because it's just how you utilize it, but you have to be careful of how you utilize it. Because in here, you could have been looking, okay, that's 20-day look back. I got to short into that. No, that doesn't make any sense. Order flow is still bullish. Even in here, you're looking at it. Would it make sense to try to short back here in December into the lows? No, that doesn't make any sense. This is a decent example when we were over here. This is actually really, really good. I remember this. When we were down here, if I'm looking back 20 days, look at all the highs in here. So that's a 20-day high, 40/60s up here. So if you looked at order flow on the weekly, we were dropping down into a discount / bullish breaker in here. I remember this. Then price gravitates higher to want to seek the 20, 40, 60-day look back. But you have to match this concept with price. You have to match it. Otherwise, you're just trading blindly. It's a good, useful information. It's the same thing as market maker sell buyer models. So you have to, as a user, decide what they are. Yeah, it's always moving with the current day. It's not the fixated thing. It's always moving with it. CJ, you owe me a fist fight. That guy's hilarious. It's probably one of the best content I watched recently. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, in times when I'm not going to be trading, I'll rather just do a teaching, and that way it's at least useful for all of you. So this is the old new week opening gap. If we break underneath this, what are you looking for next? Well, you'd be looking at this old new week opening gap as a drawn liquidity. So that's how I use old new week opening gaps, is just basically drawing liquidities. So if we start gravitating lower, we collapse underneath the sell side in here. What's next? This old new week opening gap. And that's good. When you move away from the current, this is the current up here. When you move away from that immediately, probably off of Tuesday, that means you're probably in a trending week. If you hover around the current new week opening gap for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, even Thursday, you're in a consolidational profile that week. Finn, I have 4. As far as new day opening gaps, it depends, but for the most part, I usually only have 1. Well, IPDA, I mean, it could be used for this as well. As far as like central bank dealing ranges, that's only on Forex because central banks are what's driving Forex, foreign exchange. I don't use like flout and central bank dealing ranges on index futures. Where did that just go? So again, what I mentioned in here is this small little fair value gap. Even though you could sell off of it, man, like, oh boy, I'm gonna sell off this. I don't feel any type of emotion about it. And if you do, that's you know, it is what it is. But I don't feel any type of emotion off of it. I'm not trying to particularly chase price. Some people will be like, you're not chasing price. That's, you know, that's an entry pattern. You can go short in here. Well, cool, man. That's you. Again, trading is personalized. You have to understand when somebody's talking, particularly you have to match it with your own personality and your rule set and what you've experienced. I mean, the only reason I would say I'm valid is because I've done this profitably. I've sat and I've done it live in front of now 1,000 people consistently. So what I'm saying is, you know, you have to take everything with a grain of salt no matter what anybody teaches, and you have to match it with what your particular set of personality is. If you're comfortable with shorting in a very discounted market and, to me, chasing price, then that's cool. But it's always personalized. It's always what you personally see. So even on social media, if somebody's doing something and you don't like it, I mean, that may work for them, vice versa. So that's why social media can be really toxic and it can be really stunting your growth. I would just advise all of you to probably get off of social media, stop looking at all these influencers, stop trying to trade everything that they're trying to do and sell you. I mean, just focus on ICT, man. Even myself, like, I mean, most influencers are not going to tell you that, but to me, focus on ICT, man. Focus on what he's teaching. if this was having some decent short-term retracements on a 15-minute, a 5-minute into some decent premiums, then I could be willing to short it. Because here's the thing, when you're on a 1-minute time frame, you get super zoomed in. On a 5-minute time frame, let's say the dealing range low is down here. This would be our current dealing range high. So what could happen is when you reach inside of a discount, when you're inside of a deep discount, price is selling off. What could happen is price could have a short-term retracement back up into a premium. So what would happen is on a 1-minute, you're trying to short it, you're trying to chase it, and it runs over your shorting opportunity, right? So you have to be aware of the dealing ranges that you're in. When price is really selling off like this, I have to be aware of the 5-minute, the 15-minute dealing ranges. I have to be like, all right, well, it may want to retrace back into a short-term premium on a 5-minute time frame. And guess what I'm doing? I'm also not trying to buy down here. I don't think that's a valid opportunity to do so. I'm not trying to catch a falling knife because I don't know where price is going to stop. I don't know that. Yeah, there's a lot of gems being tossed out today. I mean, it's the only way I'm able to teach. It's the only way I'm able to do this is through a live session, really. I can't make videos over these certain topics because some days I can't talk about it because it's just not playing out. But on days like this, on a certain profile, I can talk about it. I can teach. Wazen, if we get a 1-minute unicorn, you would take that. I don't know what that means. That unicorn phrase has been so distorted, and I hate it. It's just such a catchy phrase for people to say. I really hate that word. Unicorn originally is the second stage distribution of a market maker seller buy model. So I don't know what that means. Well, I short if we trace. I mean, I'm looking at time as well. It's like, well, I'm probably not going to be able to short today. Even though that's my overall buy, I'm probably not going to be able to do so because even if it retraced into it by the end of Silver Bullet, I'm now running into the issue of time where I don't really have enough time on my hands to continue pushing it short. I mean, it's a decent question. The issue I have with that is I'm not trying to catch a falling knife, even though I understand that price could return into a short-term premium. It could have a short-term retracement, but there's no guarantees of that. Price could very well just keep selling off, and then I'm stuck trying to long this thing when it's not ready to do so. I would need clear evidence that it would really want to go higher. And even then, so I would probably just elect to just do nothing and probably just short this thing overall, because that's what the narrative is. If that means I have to wait till tomorrow, then so be it. Unicorn Enigma Reaper, yeah. The Assassin FEG. I guarantee you if I put that in the video, somebody would get 100,000 views. This is the Golden Assassin Enigma Breaker. Artemis pattern, no. If it doesn't come from ICT, it's made up. It's a good question. When you're not live streaming, what's your mental process flow? I'll focus or you distract yourself. Yeah, it's a good question. Like today, if I'm just waiting and I'm not electing to do anything, then I'll probably be on Twitter scrolling. Like I just distract myself, or sometimes I'll draw, or I'll just walk away. Like if I just see that, you know what, man, it's probably a bad idea for me to even participate in today, I'll just close the charts and go to the gym. Like I don't have TradingView on my phone. I don't have Discord on my phone. I don't have Twitter on my phone. And the reason I don't have it on my phone is I found a huge relief in not being so glued mentally, like outside of when I'm sitting at my PC and my monitors. Like my old self, I used to, get off the session and I'd go to the gym and then I'd constantly keep looking at my phone and looking at TradingView and being connected to price. It's like, it's an unhealthy relationship. we got into this to have freedom, time freedom particularly, to be away from, you know, jobs. And I mean, if you end up treating this like a job and then you're chained to it, I mean, what's the point of you even pursuing this? You're defeating the whole purpose. This is what we talked about yesterday, Lucas, if you're still in here. Like, I saw your comment, is like, that's the most beautiful thing. It's like, why would I want to sit and price? Like, yesterday, I already knew that was going to happen. In a real setting and time, I wouldn't have done it. Like, I wouldn't even have been at the session because I want to enjoy life. I don't want to be sitting here watching paint dry when I could be out enjoying time with whatever, family, friends, just enjoying life. Like, you're sucking the life away from you sitting at these charts. You don't need to always be here. That's when you get to a more experienced point, is you can do that. Like, you have to value your time with loved ones and life in general over these charts. And I really got that last year from ICT. I mean, he stated that. There was multiple sessions where we were sitting there for 2 hours, and he's like, I wouldn't normally do this, but I'm trying to preach to all of you that this is stupid. Like, it's worthless to spend your time. Actually, I paid $70 a month, which is ridiculous, but I could pay cheaper, but my gym is so close to me that I pay for the convenience. I didn't mean that in a wrong way. Wazium, what's wrong with the unicorn? It's literally made by ICT. No one stole it, but unicorn, there is two definitions of it. Unicorn is a breaker with a fair value gap inside of it. Unicorn was also originally, before all of you got taught these concepts back in 2020, 2019, it was the second stage distribution. But people have molded it, created it into these different things on social media. So it's hard to say when somebody asks me that question. I don't even know the definition anymore because I know my definition of it. I know what it is. Yeah, I mean, people talk about the second chart and being, you know, valid entry patterns. I would love to see somebody consistently do that. I only think that you know, as an experienced trader, even me, looking at a seconds chart, you really have to know exactly where you're at and what you're doing to operate within a seconds chart. Like, I don't, even ICT, I wouldn't think he would advise it to all of us to do so. BF, exactly. I'm showing you exactly what the life of a trader is. It's not always taking these entries and having these best risk rewards and having these profit days and, you know, peacocking around. It's days like this and yesterday where I'm sitting, I'm doing nothing, I'm just watching price, and it's boring as hell. It's not always fun. And then you're going to see days where I lose. You've seen that, and it's like, well, that's not fun either. So that's the reality of it. Can this condition between indices be called decoupling? It's not really decoupled. Like, YM would have to be doing something completely different. Like, it would really have to be spiking up a lot higher. It's still relatively in sync. It's just not moving off as low as ES and NQ. What did you say, accidental? I saw it for a second. Accidental. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I find it. I mean, I know you don't mean it. You're probably joking, but I do find it disrespectful when people shit on him. Like, I can't wait for this year. By the end of the year, like, people that believe he can't trade are you're out of your freaking mind. Like, if you see these concepts work and you trade them and it works for you, how would the creator, him own self, not know how to trade it? Like, think about that. It's such a weird thing to think about. Yeah, Copex, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not either, and I'm not trying to shorten here. So, it's fine. Bro, fix your microphone, please. Type a 1 if you think my microphone is fine. Well, now I got 2 questions on it, so I don't know. It's fine, yeah. So yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, somebody could be saying the truth. I don't know. I mean, you may have to turn up your volume. All right, that's good. I get the point. Thank you, everybody. It's probably my space heater. I have a space heater going. I could turn that off just to help everything. Sounds like you got peanut butter on the roof of your mouth or something. All right. Awesome. Noted. Yeah, I'm sure, but it gets so cold in my room that I literally need a space heater. Yeah, again, I don't care about trolls. It's fine. Yeah, sounds better. It probably does. I apologize. But the space heater's kind of needed. Otherwise, I'm going to sit here and freeze my ass off. Nico. Yeah, I'm sure. I don't think she's streaming today. That's why we've had an influx of viewers. Are you trading the rest of the week? I mean, I'll probably trade tomorrow. As far as the rule set for the week, it's, ICT advises us on NFP week to trade Monday through Wednesday, be done by that. So, I mean, as far as the only thing I could really look for is the end of the silver bullet macro. Have I considered streaming with a cam? I have. I mean, I know some people would want to see it. I don't really find it useful. I think focusing on the charts is more important than focusing on what the speaker looks like. And I got some big ass headphones, and most of the time, like, I'm wearing a wife beater with a hat on, so I look like an idiot. And I'm not gonna get dressed up to sit on a live stream cam. I value my own sanity over trying to appease others. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I know face cams, even from a viewer standpoint, it's probably cool, but yeah, too much work. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. Akbar, all right. Suit jacket, you had to wear it, yeah. Lucas, I mean, it's just what we were talking about. Wait, 10:06. Oh, that was a while ago. Yeah, you have to look at order flow. What was the narrative for the day? I mean, if you go back to if you weren't here, Lucas, I would just advise going through the whole live stream. I mean, it's going to give you clarity to your answer. Andreas, yeah, I mean, I agree, but even without a face cam, we've been able to consistently get to 1,000 viewers. So, I mean, does it really matter that much? I don't think so. I can't eat my sneaky banana, yeah. So, I mean, this is what, to me, boring trading is. It's times where you're just going to be sitting here doing nothing. If you think that this is stupid that I'm doing this and that, you know, I should be shorting and showcasing that, then that's awesome. That's cool. But I'm not going to do that. Regardless if I was on stream or not, I wouldn't be doing anything. Exactly, Ben. I mean, it's just, as you get more experience, you don't, I want to place my money as an investment. I don't just fire off trades all the time and try to look for a 1 minute fair value gap and just try to short. I'm very particular. I only need 1 to 2 setups a week to create an amazing living. And if I'm going to do that, I'm going to place my money in a very good, high probability setting. And if that requires a lot of patience, then that's what is required. A little late to stream, but thanks again for the consistent streams. You're not taking a trade against your narrative, so beneficial. Exactly. I think that's the number one thing that will help you is if you have to look at the narrative first and say, all right, well, I'm going to draw the line in the sand, say I'm only going to trade this side of the narrative today. And again, FOMO, like FOMO for me, I understand as a newer student that you have those emotions and you fear missing a move a lot. But as you become more experienced, you've seen this happen so many times to the point where you just don't care anymore. It's not that you don't care, it's you have so much trust in your model, you have so much trust and patience. Like, I know without a doubt in my mind that my model is probably going to print the rest of the week and I'll probably be able to enter in profit. And if I don't, that's fine too. Like, you have to be willing to trust yourself, trust your patience, trust the model, trust the instructions that were given to you by ICT. If you don't, then you're just trading everything. It's just such a bad way of doing this. CJ, that's a great question. One of those 2 weekly setups, how many points? I'm aiming, particularly depending on the condition. Each week and day is a little bit different, but if we're moving a lot, I mean, I could go for 40 to 60 handles, and that's all you would need. I mean, that's a lot. 40, 60 handles, if you could do that even just 2 times a month. Like, again, if you look at, you guys know who Jade Cap is. He's an amazing ICT trader. He's been paid out over $1 million. He stated this last week. He said, I do 2% a month. Think about that. 2% a month is probably on, if he was trading Forex, he's doing like 20 pips in a month, which some people are like, that's literally nothing. Yeah, but he was outperforming everybody. Everybody. Running laps around everybody that's trying to catch these huge runs. I mean, if you have enough equity, enough capital to trade with, you need to do very little. If you have $1 million in capital funding, you literally need to do 1 to 2% a month, not a week, a month. I think majority of people, if you get consistent at this, that's a really easy threshold to look at. Doing 1 to 2% a month. 1 to 2% a month on $1 million is $10,000 to $20,000 a month. That would change everybody's lives in this chat. So really, it's not the issue of being able to catch a lot of moves. It's the issue of funding, really. Because if you have a bunch of funding, you don't fear missing all these moves because all you need is just a little bite to eat, and that will feed you for the entire month, for a couple months. It's not the issue of being able to, like, man, I should be able to trade 100 handle moves every single day. That's just unrealistic to expect. It's not realistic. So that's the mindset I operate out of as well. Is like, I only need very little to make a very good living. And regardless, even if you don't have that funding, you need to practice that. How are you ever going to get good at it and put yourself into that mindset if you don't do it? Joel, awesome here. Tom, yeah, I mean, it's still like the 15-minute time frame, the IOFED. It's, it's a good model. It's just the risk is too much for me. I can't enter on that. I'd be risking way too much. I mean, 69 handles of risk or 70 handles of risk is so much. That's like 3-4 of my trades. So sometimes, you're going to have your model, but the risk is too much and you can't do it. Yeah, Kyle really is a legend, man. I don't even know why he gets some hate. I don't even know why he does. I mean, that dude he's such an inspiration. And we have completely different trading styles. Like, he's more of like a swing trader. I'm more intraday. I'm on a 1 minute. I'm operating on 1 minute for the most part. Well, I have a little, because I think that you're overconfident in that, Lord. I think you're overconfident. I mean, I'm not saying you particularly, but even myself. You're overconfident you could have a full bite to eat. When guess what? You're going to think that when you could have had a nice little bite to eat, and then you try to go for the full plate, and guess what? You get the whole plate thrown back at your face, and now it's on the floor. So the analogy is saying, you could have just had 1 to 2%, let's say just 1% a week, and then you try to push for one. Let me just get 1 more% this week. Let me just make a little bit more. Guess what? You lose all that money, and then you lose some more. It's a false illusion that you think that you can do more than you actually can. That's a lot of traders where the majority of the pitfalls they fall into is they think they can do way more than they think. The disconnect between what your skill set is and what is actually realistic, it's such a disconnect. You're really not as good as you think you are. And the reason I'm saying that is because it gives you power. You're not as good as you think you are. You're really not. You're actually a terrible trader. Okay, cool. If I'm actually a terrible trader, then guess what? I lower my expectations. I lower the things that I expect out of the market and I expect out of myself. And guess what? That's the best ways to operate out of. If I expect myself to be doing 10% a week and I think I'm this amazing trader, guess what? You probably aren't, man. Like, even somebody with 6 years of experience, man, I still expect myself to make a bunch of mistakes and do a lot of things wrong. It's such a, when you move into this industry, you think that you're so good at this and you could do everything and that just be, I'm going to be flying all around these charts and catching every single move. No, you're not. How about Paladin? I mean, I don't know too much. I think it's YouTube, guys. I think it's YouTube because nothing's changed. I'm not changing my mic. I'm not changing anything. And my microphone's at full volume, max volume, and I'm basically screaming into this thing. So I think it's got to be YouTube then. So as we moved into the end of silver bullet macro, I mean, at this point, I'm not going to be doing anything. Guess what? I'm happy with it. It's fine. It doesn't mean that you did something good today. If you look at today and you say, man, like, I should have been doing something. No, you shouldn't have. At least in my eyes, I didn't miss anything. I didn't do anything wrong. It's just simply the reality of trading. Sometimes the bus leaves without you, and you just let it go for the day. It's still going to be here tomorrow. Nothing's broken. You're not broken. You have to keep, the reason I say these things over and over and over and over again, so it embeds into your mind. So when I'm not here, when I'm not trading with any of you, it's still ringing off in your head. These same things ICT has said to me, it still repeats in my mind over and over again. Every time I hop on these charts, it's like he's living through me. That's why he's called the ghost of the machine, is because even though he's not with you, he's living through you. When you hop on these charts, all the things he's talked about, everything that we've gone through with him, it lives through us. Jonathan, interesting. I mean, if it's your first day here, maybe try to come back tomorrow. I think YouTube's just messing up today. Natalia, thank you. I wouldn't be probably trading the rest of the day. I mean, I could come back PM session. I could look at it. I could look at the PM session silver bullet and see what opportunities exist. But I think again, this falls into what we just talked about. You think you're so much better than what you really are, and I even say this to myself. You think you're so much better than what you really think you are. the best way to find consistency is just to stick with one session. If you didn't find anything within that session, then just call it a day, man. Because guess what? On the flip side, you go into the PM session, you could end up losing, and you're pissed off. You're like, you know what? I sat out the whole day. I was patient, and I went in the PM session. I lost. And it's like, well, you know, if you just stick with one rule set, you're very rigid on that. You're opening yourself up to very minimum risk. You're not as good as you think you are. I'm not trying to discourage any of you. It's just such a valid point. It's going to help you. If you just lower your expectations of yourself, you know, you're going to find much more better consistency. You're still waiting to see my A++ setup. I don't have an A++ setup. There's nothing in here where I'm without an ever of doubt in my mind it's going to work. If that was so, I would never place a stop loss. That's the reason why we place stop losses. I have certain models that I'm very confident in, but there's never a model or setup where I'm like, yep, this is it. I'm not taking a loss. Like, again, that's a fallacy. You're living in an illusion, a dream made up world. So if you're waiting for that, you're not going to get it. Casper, I appreciate it. Mike, thank you. Have a good rest of your day. Stocks, the more you answer, the more you survive. Yeah. Wazy, what's up, brother? Yeah. So I mean, at the end of this, I'm probably gonna log off here shortly. That's it for this session. Hopefully, I answered whoever asked that question about the A++ setup. That doesn't exist. What up, Wazy? I'm feeling really good today, to be honest. We didn't do anything here today. Hopefully, you did all right today. Hopefully, everything's good with you. So also, I mean, it's up to you. I mean, yeah, it just means you have to be a lot more patient. And even if so, like, let's say, you know, you do 2% in the first, the first week. I mean, if you have to elect to sit out the rest of the month and then do that again for the next month, I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean, yes, on the flip side, could I make more? Could I do a lot more? Sure. But if somebody told you all you had to do was trade one time a month and you made 20 grand in the first day of the month and then you didn't have to do anything else, I mean, how amazing would that be? Oh, but CJ, I could make a whole bunch more. Well, who cares, man? You made $20,000. You're making more than anybody else. Like, who really cares? Like, if I was only that's such a blessing. Like, you have to work for one day out of the month to make $20,000. Who really cares? That's awesome. If you told that to a normal person, and then you told them, yeah, but I want to keep going for more, they'd be like, well, are you out of your mind, dude? Like, what are you talking about? You have to do minimum amount of work for a max amount of profit. It sounds like a blessing. It sounds like a dream job. Rooster. All right, brother. Exactly, Wheezy. I mean, so I've been trying to describe to a lot of them. Is, you don't have to do that much to be profitable. You don't have to do that much. You know what's funny, Nico, is when you said that, it rings in my head. I just watched a video with Michael. He's like, but Michael, shit. I forgot what he said. It's so funny, man. He cracks me up when he goes on rants. Made $5K a month at $36 an hour, yeah. And again, I mean, also working 40 hours a week, and that's $160 a month. When in reality, you can make triple times that for 1 hour in a week. So it's all perspective. But Michael, shit. I have to find that. The video cracks me up. Rio, of course. Yeah, I think that's going to be it for the rest of the session, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope today was really, really insightful. I hope it was a really good learning day. For those who are here to learn, who are actually studious and want to be students, you want to become individually profitable, I think you're in the right place, personally. For those who are looking for signals, obviously it's not. Last 2 days, it's not for you, and you need to look inward and see why you're just looking for signals. Because if you look for signals the rest of your career, you're never going to become successful. Like it's just not going to happen. So, I mean, that's really going to be it for today's session. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you're not already, subscribe. Go to my Twitter, give me a follow. I appreciate it. I'll be back here tomorrow, same time, 15 minutes before the open. And until then, peace.